this is a big one, needless to say, and it's a good one to end off the series, I think. Now, it is another case where, I already have the North American cartridge, but the label art is kind of charming enough on its own to warrant to pick up anyway. It's certainly a very special game. It was the first game where I was aware of there was hype around a game launch. I think the only thing that came close might have been Pac-Man on the 2600. I vividly remember riding the subway in Toronto in 1990 and overhearing people talk about it that fall. It was just about to come out. It was surprising. Now, of these three here that you see, the only one actually owned at the time was Super Mario Bros. 2, which, I guess is the odd duck of the franchise for reasons I probably don't need to explain to you. I certainly liked it fine enough, and just as I liked the first game fine enough. But if you ask me which third game in a series I'd be more excited for, there was no question on my mind who the winner was. So really, in fact, the first time I ever played Super Mario Bros. 3 wasn't until the All-Stars release on Super Nintendo. It was then I was surprised to see just how many gameplay elements from Super Mario World appeared first in 3. Though in retrospect, I realized it was one of the very few knocks against Super Mario World that it just felt like a small step evolution up from 3. Though from my perspective, having only played 2 and 1, the difference was certainly massive for Mario World. Of course, Mario doesn't stop. It continues apace, on and on. But let's go back now and plug in this nice chunky Famicom cart and see if this is still Mario's best adventure. All right, here we are, the big one, Super Mario Bros. 3. You know it, you love it. You can't live without it. It always weirds me out that there's no sound during the title screen. It's so weird. Yeah, and you'll notice 1988 Nintendo, not 1990. 2-year gap, pretty significant for a marquee title. And I put it in the weird position of coming out just 1 year before Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo launch. I think that probably shaded some of my perceptions of this game, maybe, and I think some of the reviewers too. Yeah, so let's just go. Let's just play for a bit. I don't know. I guess my only goal is to maybe get to the Mushroom House there, so I can show you the Japanese text, which is one of the very, very few differences there are in this game compared to the North American version, really. I guess this is the trick, right? See, I'm not really super familiar with this game and all the tricks to getting like all the warp whistles and stuff, because, I mean, for such a big game, there is no battery save in this. There's no progression being saved. But there is on the All-Stars version, so I think that's also one of the reasons why I don't play this version of the game as much. And here's one of the big innovations before we had the cape. That's a cool sound. Yeah, so the raccoon suit. I was going to say the Tanuki suit, but that's a different thing. Slightly different thing. And of course, this is the only classic title with the Karibo shoe, which unfortunately we won't be seeing because it's too far into the game. All right, let's see if we can speed run this thing. Although I was practicing earlier and did such a terrible job at it, some of you I shouldn't try speedrunning it, just to pay attention to the game. Oh, and slopes, they added slopes. That's going to be in Mario Maker 2. Oh my goodness, see, this is the kind of play I was having before that was just embarrassing myself. Terrible, terrible. Repeating all my old mistakes. It's bumming me out. Alright, let's just keep it going. Not going to get too bummed out here. Yeah, so I mean, if you have, your Nintendo Switch with an Nintendo Online account, you can play this game already on your own with the. Well, I've got the that 8-bit do-it-yourself kit for the NES controller, or specifically the NES controller for the Classic Edition. And they had a firmware update on that thing that lets you access the Switch menu, with select and start. So actually, I can actually play those NES games now with this NES controller, which is pretty cool. Okay, this is going to be our last level. I think this is also where the warp whistle is, because is it? The blocks? Oh, I'm so terrible with my knowledge of this specific game, because as good as it is, it's not one I've actually put a lot of time into, just a fairly minimal amount of time. Yeah, I don't think there's any. think that takes the place of the ivy and the clouds from the first game. That should shortcut me through the level too. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say anything new about this game because it's you know, the flagship title of the console, really. It's just, there are very few games that can match it. Although, again, at the time, I really didn't care that much. And, you know, I was into Mega Man 3, which I think is also one of the pinnacle titles of the platform. You know, coming back to this, it's a little easier to appreciate it than at the time. I just, you know, after I got Super Mario World on Super Nintendo, why would I want to go back to this? But it holds up, definitely. Yeah, and there's your Japanese text. One of the very few differences between the Famicom version and the one you're familiar with. And I think we'll call it quits there. Yeah, this has been a really fun series to do, and thanks for sticking with me. And catch you next time for whatever I do next. Let's bounce out of this and get you home. Right, so that was Super Mario Bros. 3. Of course, if you have the Switch, you can play it for yourself if you have the online service. No reason not to play it. So yeah, so this was a fun series to do, though this may not be the definitive end. In fact, there's going to be one bonus episode coming up soon. So look for more content in the future, and thanks so much for watching.